What up, everyone? It's your boy Satemangala, the Reverend of the Revolution, welcoming you to another edition of Your Daily Revolution, the podcast that helps you to wake up, turn your brain on, and to prosper every single day in every part of your life. Today's topic: what does the voice sound like? Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I talk often of hearing the voice, listening to the voice, feeling the voice, and trusting the voice. And many people email me and message me and ask, so what does this voice sound like? How do I know if the voice is speaking to me? Before I talk about that, I want to make something very clear to my listeners. The voice is an action-based voice, which means if you are asking and you have no intent to do the work that the voice commands you to do or prompts you to do, it's not going to tell you anything. Why? Because the voice knows that you are asking out of curiosity. The voice only responds when it knows that you are sincere and that you have real intent to take action, to fulfill and follow through, to execute on what it's telling you to do. And if you have every intention of following through, then and only then, my friends, do you even have a chance to hear the voice. So just understand that in business, if you're like, well, what should I do? But you're not going to take action, it's not going to tell you what to do. In your relationships, if you're trying to figure out, hey, should I be with this person? What am I supposed to do with my spouse? But you are a person who doesn't fulfill and follow through. Why would it even invite you or prompt you or nudge you to do something? And with your physical body, in terms of health, fitness, energy, vitality, if you have no intention of taking action, stop asking. Now, if you are the person that has every intention of taking action on what the voice inside of you, the voice that's above you, the voice that's divine, like your core, your gut, your conscience, your inner compass, then I promise you it's already telling you what you need to do. You just need to be aware of what it sounds like. But here's the crazy thing about it. The voice is not even a sound. It's more of a feeling, a distinct feeling. Like, you know it's not you, because almost always it will invite and prompt you to do things that you almost always do not want to do. It almost just like course corrects your path. And there's two ways to really understand how the voice works. Number one is the thoughts. When I receive promptings from that voice, it's always some type of thought, and it stops me dead in my track. It's like this sudden stroke of ideas. It's these flashes of inspiration. And they're very clear thoughts. And they're not just my daydreams. They're not just me like wandering off into the 17th dimension. These thoughts are typically accompanied by some type of feeling. Thoughts and feelings combined. So I'll tell you a couple stories of when I felt and heard the voice. And I've shared these before, but I'm going to share these in detail. This podcast may be a little bit longer to give you some distinction here, because I want you to be able to understand the voice that speaks to you. I want you to experience the safety, the power, the guidance of what it feels like to be influenced and to be moved by this voice. Over a year ago, as I was down here working with my boy, G-Dub, he kept telling me, hey, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to move. You need to move out of Utah. I didn't want to move out of Utah. There was never, ever in my dreams, on my goals, never even a part of the plan. But what was part of my plan was eternal expansion, to be a leader of men and women, to be a leader of mankind, and to make a difference. To lead men and women to their greatest purpose. Like, I've always seen myself as someone who would do great things, and I could never get rid of these desires. So I'm here with my boy Garrett, And he keeps telling me this, and then something happens. I hear the voice. And it's time to move. And I just knew it. Now, it made no sense, right? Living in Utah, super cheap. Let's be real. Like in Utah, it was like we were living like kings based upon the money I was making with my business. And yet it almost made no sense financially to make a move down here, but it was a leap of faith. So I called my wife and I told her, hey, we're going to move. She didn't believe me. Then I told her again, hey, we're going to move, like we're really moving. She didn't believe me. But I kept feeling this, like I knew it. I knew, and it's like this leap of faith. When we got down here to California, again, I'm operating on faith, but see, here's how the voice works as well. I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a God-honoring man. So I say, God, I feel like this is what you're telling me to do. And if it is, I'm going to take action immediately. I literally called up like my wife and said, we're out. You know, and I notified my landlord because we were renting at the time because of the bankruptcy. And I was like, hey, we're out. And he's like, really? I was like, yep, we're out. Okay. I hired a realtor down here in California. And I'm like, I need to find a home. These are the dimensions. And I continue to say, God, if this isn't right, just let me know. Like, let me know, because I'm moving. But everything continued to feel right. We continued to look for homes, and nothing felt right looking for homes. We looked for weeks. We even took a road trip down here. Came down with our boys and looked at like half a dozen homes, and just nothing was right. And then one day, before we were getting ready to go back to Utah, one occasion, my wife said, hey, let's go look at this house. Now, we had a budget when we moved over here, right? We had a budget. And there was a range, right, from X amount to X amount. And when we walked into this home, I knew immediately this was the one. Number one, I loved the house. It fit what I wanted for my family. It fit all of my parameters because I was very clear about it. So I walked in, saw the owner. I'm like, how much? And he literally said the price, which was at the top of our budget. I said, we'll take it. I said, once again, God, if this is, and again, I'm not just leaning on God. I'm not just leaning on the voice. I'm doing my homework. I'm looking at my income, looking at my business model. I'm looking at projections. I'm looking at my wife and kids. I'm looking at what I want. Because I truly believe that God honors the things we desire. Now, sometimes the things we desire, they're not always the best things. Sometimes they're just a whole greater play and picture and process. And that's why we got to trust. So we make the move. And the whole time I'm feeling like this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm trusting. A year later, we have been so blessed, so fortunate. I have been guided in every business decision. See, I truly believe that when the voice guides and prompts and moves you to do something, the voice prepares a way. And this has happened every single time in my life. There have been instances where I have been protected because I listened. When I felt distinction, do not do this. And then I take a couple more steps like, Lord, is that me or is that you? I take a couple steps and the thoughts and feelings, do not do this. Every time that I've listened, I have prospered. I have been blessed. I have been guided. I've been fortunate. I have prospered. Every time that I did not listen, things went wrong. Things didn't work out. 2 years ago, I had hired 2 coaches by this time, and it was a significant financial investment this time, but I knew I was supposed to do it. I knew I needed to make the investment as coaches because it's the path I needed to take. You know, when a guy wants to go to the NFL, duh, he better have an agent and a trainer. It's obvious. Well, for me, the obvious was I want to become a powerful, loving, respectable, effective coach. So I hired these 2 coaches and a lot of money into the game. I met this 3rd coach. And I knew I was supposed to hire him. And it was a significant investment. I went to my wife and I had to explain to her, and I was afraid. I'm not gonna lie, I was afraid. And my wife looked at me and I told her, I feel this is what I need to do. When I say those words, my wife is very like, So she says, if this is what you feel, then you do it. You got to understand at this time, by the time I hired this third coach, I was $80,000 into my own personal coaching. 80,000. So you can imagine my wife who's now like, whew, are you sure? I'm like, I'm sure. I know it. Hiring those 3 coaches was the greatest thing I could have done for my career, for my life, for my purpose. See, there are times when you know I need to hire this man. I need to pay this person. I felt it. I knew it. So what does it feel like? It's peace. It's patience. It's joy. It's clarity. If I ever get confusion, I know typically there's something not right. I've shared this before, but I'll share it again because it was 20 years ago. I came home from a 2-year mission. You would think that I really understood the voice. But no, my own personal desires allowed me to not listen. And my brother wanted to put a pair of speakers in my car. Big subwoofers. I'm like, yeah. And the voice said, no, do not put that in your car. Now, of course, I want to put it in my car. The voice says no. And I'm trying to figure out, like, well, what could possibly go wrong? So like the dummy I was, I ignored it and I put it in my car. All was well for a week. And I'm like, yeah. And I justified it and I rationalized it, putting my desires and wants above that of the voice. A week later, on a Sunday morning, I came out to my car. The windows were broken. The speakers were ripped out. The deck was ripped out. All the CDs, hundreds of CDs were stolen and damaged to my vehicle. How about that? How crazy is that? I didn't listen. And that's one of many, many instances where I did not heed the voice. Now, I've learned my lesson since then. There are times when the voice will tell me, no, do not do this. And because if I'm clear and I'm honest and I'm humble, I don't always know what's on the other side of not doing. I just know that I'm protected and I'm blessed and I'm happy and I prosper when I listen. Peace, thoughts, feelings, thoughts and feelings. Now, I talk often of not listening to thoughts and feelings. No, the thoughts and feelings I'm talking about that are associated with hearing the voice is feeling. So there's a few things that you can do to be in tune. Number 1, create favorable situations and circumstances for your life. Get to sleep early. My greatest flashes of inspiration and ideas, they come early morning, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Which means I go to bed early. Why? Because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. The most successful men, they're not like up till 4 in the morning burning the midnight oil. Sure, if you're on vacation or it's spring break or there's something like, I get it. But the majority of the time, I got to create favorable conditions that are conducive to having the voice speak to me. So staying healthy, having good rest, eating right, exercising. Something else I do is I pray. Now, if you don't pray, I invite you to meditate and just sit and be still. I pray to God and I ask God, God, guide me in my work. Please guide me. This is your work, not my work. Now, I don't sell informational products. I sell life-changing, life-transformational content, processes, methodologies, principles, and truths. So it's a very sacred work in my heart because I know that there's a liberation process where most men and women, they live in bondage, miserable, in despair and doubt, fear, scarcity. So I pray and ask God, so I keep my body healthy, I get good rest. I cry unto God and say, God, guide me. And I listen. I don't fill my mind with garbage. What do I mean by garbage? You know what I mean. And you know what it is for you. Some of you guys, you need to put social media down. You need to stop sedating yourself, whether it's with social media, drugs, alcohol, porn, fitness, work. I mean, you could sedate yourself with anything. Sugar. But you got to be in control of your life, and you got to be willing and humble and open. And I invite every one of you just tonight, or whenever you listen to this, just literally get on your knees, or while you're driving, just turn the music off and say, God, are you there? This crazy reverend, a.k.a. Reverend, his name is Satima, he's telling me that like you can help me and guide me. And if you will ask, you will receive. If you will knock, it will be open. If you seek, you shall find. But only if you've got real intent and a sincere heart that you're going to take action. Oftentimes the voice is going to tell you to do things that are very difficult, very scary. In terms of business, you're going to have to make leaps, make investments where you're like, dude, I don't know how this is going to happen. You're going to have to take some risks on you and your business. In relationships, you're going to have to like either cut some things off or get real and honest and start showing up as a man or a woman, as a husband or as a wife, as a parent. The voice will tell you some things like, you need to stop doing this. Because I promise you, if you are asking, it will tell you. And if you do not listen, you decrease the chance of being able to hear the voice again. But if you listen, you receive trust from your gut and intuition, and from me, from God. The voice told me to start this podcast. The voice told me to do a live event for women called Shield Maiden Live. And I listened. And I followed through. The voice has given me desires of things that I want. And there's been times where I'm like, I please take these desires away from me. I've always had desires to be great in my life. Desires to do big things, to do great things. And I've tried to like douse that and get rid of it and cover it up because I'm like, man, why do I have these great desires to do something so magnificent? Not for me, but for you, God. And for other people. And I finally just came to a point where I said, I'm going to do it. This morning I had a dream that I woke up. When I woke up, I had envisioned myself talking to Oprah about this program for women. Why for women? I can't tell you exactly why, but I know that in these days, the women are the last line of defense. Like the women, mothers, wives, who have so much influence on their husbands and other children. And even women are failing today. So I listened. It told me to write a book. I listened. It's telling me to do another event this fall. I listen. I cannot see everything. I don't know how everything works. I just trust. It tells me to be with my wife and kids as much as possible. So I listen. What is the voice telling you to do? What is it prompting you and nudging you to do? Is it telling you to not go to certain places? Is it telling you to stop seeing certain people? Is it telling you to do something different? Listen and obey, and you will never go wrong. Brothers and sisters, I'm speaking to you with all the energy in my heart. Listen. And like any other skill, it's something you're going to have to learn to attune yourself to. Like learn and tune yourself to hear. Because the voice will be different for everybody. But this much I know. If a man or woman is willing to humble himself or herself and ask in faith and to trust and to obey and to follow, even when it makes no sense, you'll be guided. And yes, it is a test every time. It is a test of your faith. It is a trial of your faith. It will prompt you to do things you're like, dude, I don't know. And it will not tell you to like do crazy things that are against the law. No, not at all. Don't get that. Don't try to justify, well, it's telling me to go to the strip club and cheat on my wife. Hell no. It's not how it works. It's always for the benefit, like the ultimate benefit. So listen. Take care of your body. That's why fitness and nutrition are so important, because your body's the conduit. Be receptive. In other words, fill your mind with greatness, positive things. Read good books. Study good books. Listen to good podcasts. Listen to good audios. Listen to good books. Stand in holy places. Now, if you don't believe in God, but you don't have to believe in God. You just have to know that you know the difference between a holy place or a place that is good, that has goodness, that has light, and places that are evil. Don't put yourself in those evil places. This is probably the longest podcast that I'll do, but it means so much to me that it has a special place in my heart. I know this is not a popular subject, and people will say, man, just tell me how to make money. I'm like, I am. See, for some of you, you got to listen to the voice. The voice is telling you, take your eyes off of money and trust me. For some of you, that's telling you, hey, your desires to go make a difference in the business world, God gave you those gifts. Use them. You need to make as much money as you can. Some of you, the voice is telling you, look, man, it's time to move. Or it's time to do something. And you've been ignoring it. Stop ignoring it and just trust. What is it telling you to do? Do it. And trust. And have faith. It will always work out. And the last piece, if you do not hear the voice, the ball's in your court. Choose. If you do not hear the voice, choose. If you do not hear the voice, make a choice and move. That's all I got. And yes, I'm going to remind you, if you want to create a life of real radical results, a life that you love, a life of meaning, purpose, passion, it's going to require you to get into a relentless pursuit with a ruthless commitment to pay the piper every single day so that you can get to the top of your mountains where your prize, your promised lands, and your possibilities are just waiting for you. The revolution has begun. Will you be a part of it? I'm out. For more info on joining the revolution and living your greatest life of prosperity today, go to www.yourdailyrevolution.com and join us in waking up, turning your brain on, and prospering today.